Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host, Shantae Charles. If you are viewing by YouTube, hello. I know you all have not seen me for Daring Dialogues in quite some time because it requires lots of technical gadgets to be live everywhere at the same time. So I have not been coming on my YouTube. However, I am live simultaneously on Anchor, which is our podcast, our audio podcast, and IG. So I will be taking a break soon this week. We'll be going until Wednesday of this week on IG, and then I'll be taking a break. And then, Lord willing, I will be back December 1st to continue season 11. If you have been with me on IG, you know that on Tuesdays we are live on our Facebook page, Black Table Talk. We're there on Tuesdays only at 11 a.m. So before I go on break, I will be there tomorrow on Black Table Talk, the Facebook page, at 11 a.m. That's where you're going to find me on Tuesday. All right. So it is Monday Motivation, and we have been on Mondays, we have started reading for the month of November, Notable Native People. I am going to read that. I'm going to share with you all someone who is inspiring in the Indigenous community. And then I'm going to talk about how you can keep Black content creators motivated. There are a lot of things happening that I feel it's necessary to talk about in a little bit more detail um, because, number one, I am a Black content creator, but I think that because we don't often sort of hear it being put out as a specific program, I feel like it is necessary to talk about some things that have been happening with Black content creators on all social media platforms and to share with you some ways that you can help. All right. But before we do that, I do want to get into notable Native people. Again, this is a book that I recommend if you are looking for some material about Indigenous peoples all over the world, people who are doing things in the Native and Indigenous communities, and you're wanting to increase your knowledge. Again, you're wanting to increase your knowledge. All right. So we're going to look at two people today. The first is a woman by the name of Rowan White. Akwesane. She's Akwasansi Mohawk. She was born in 1979. Rowan White is a seed keeper from the Mohawk community of Akwesasne. She has been a passionate activist for seed sovereignty, the right of communities to control and protect their own seeds, since 1997. When she was a student at Hampshire College, which has a working farm, it was there that she realized that seeds have stories, and when she began to see seeds as relatives and connections to our ancestors. Seed keeping is the ancient practice of saving seeds from plants for future use, and it is especially meaningful for many Indigenous people for sovereign and spiritual reasons. Many crops that Native people carefully cultivated and relied upon for centuries were lost or nearly lost during colonization when settlers purposefully destroyed indigenous food systems. Many crops that Native people carefully cultivated and relied upon for centuries were lost during this process. Seed keepers and advocates like Rowan work to save, catalog, distribute, and educate about native seeds, and as a result, indigenous crops are now thriving in backyards, farms, and homelands throughout the world. Local cooperatives like the Sierra Seeds Collective in Northern California, which Rowan co founded in the early 2000s, work to educate and continue seed production. Rowan offers seed trainings around the country as the project coordinator for the Indigenous Seed Keepers Network. Indigenous foods have the power to improve Native people's health and can increase our connections to land, cultural knowledge, and ancestors. Good morning. Good morning to each of you coming in. The work of seed keepers like Rowan is making sure that seed keeping practices that have survived for thousands of years carry forward into the future. As Rowan writes of our seed relatives, following this diverse trail of seed and stories, I have come to understand more about myself, my ancestral roots, and have received the blessing to carry and keep dozens of unique heritage seeds in our baskets and bundles for our family to be nourished and to pass along to future generations. I've come here to deeply listen to what the seeds have to share. So, again, her name is Rowan White, and the organization, I'm sure you can probably look them up, is the Indigenous Seed Keepers Network. All right. Also, I want to introduce us to a gentleman by the name of Joshua Mangail. And hopefully I'm saying that right. Joshua Mangail. If I'm not, somebody will correct me. He is from the Kanaka Maoli. He was born in 1986. He is an activist, a culture keeper, and a Mana Kikai, or protector. The Kanaka Maoli resistance camp against the 30-meter telescope on Mauna Kea was established in July 2019. Joshua was one of the leaders of the camp's daily cultural protocol, performing ceremonies as well as his teaching hula and chants so others in the camp could participate. In his hula lessons, he shared indigenous stories and knowledge as well as dance steps, teaching about the cycles of water, the moon, and the tides. A culture bearer and an advocate for the rights of Native Hawaiians, he has been working to protect Mauna Kea since the earliest days of the fight. In 2014, at a groundbreaking ceremony for the 30-meter telescope, he scaled the mountain alone on foot to emerge behind the camera crews and delay the ceremony long enough for reinforcements to arrive. Since then, he's been a leader in the resistance movement. Born and raised on the Big Island of Hawaii, he attended a Native Hawaiian language immersion school where he became fluent in the Hawaiian language and immersed in cultural practices. After graduation, he became a Hawaiian studies teacher in local public schools, after-school programs, community colleges, and colleges. He launched the effort to found the Hawaiian Cultural Center of Hamakua in 2014 and serves as the executive director and head instructor. In the fall of 2020, Lanakila ran for an island-wide elected position in the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. While his campaign was ultimately unsuccessful, he saw it as an opportunity to fulfill his responsibility of continuing to unify the people of Hawaii through cultural revival and education. He says, "Great changes are before us, and now we have the Kuluni as with each generation to decide if it will be a positive and healthy shift our descendants will be proud of." He believes strongly in protecting the land in Hawaii because he knows that Kanaka culture is inseparable from the land. To him, the fight to protect Mauna Kea isn't just about ecological impact or Native Hawaiian rights. It's about cultural survival. He says, we take care of the land because without the land, we have no culture. Our culture cannot exist without these places. Very, very, very powerful thoughts to consider this morning. Um, the thought and the question comes, how are you protecting your culture and how are you protecting your land? So I want to move into the next segment of what I want to talk about today. And this next segment is really important because I don't think people realize the extent to which Black content creators are being suppressed. And when I say suppressed, I am talking Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even YouTube. Um, the messages that I have been hearing from Black content creators out of their own mouths is very similar to some of the things that I've been experiencing, except some of them are experiencing it on a much greater level because they have a wider platform and a greater level of influence. Um, One of the things that's happening to content creators is shadow banning. Shadow banning is where they don't take your page down, but they simply push all of your content down in the algorithms so no one really sees what you're putting out. No one really sees when you go live. No one sees when you're posting. No one sees your videos or your teachings that you're putting out. Or if they do see it, it's very, very, very little. For example, I have 3,000 people following my personal Facebook page. When I put up content and I post, I can literally see how many people saw my content, and it's usually 3 to 5 people. So that is the extent to which my content is being pushed out of sight and out of mind. I am not posting anything that is derogatory. I'm not posting anything that's pornographic. I'm not posting anything that is vulgar. They are just simply pushing my content down in the algorithm so 3 to 5 people see my content when I post it. And I will tell you, it's not any better on my larger pages, right? Black Table Talk, there are over 30,000 people, close to really 35,000 people that are following the content that I put on that page. It's important content to our culture, to our history, to what's happening with Black people. But oftentimes the content is almost hit and miss. So I may post something and 5,000 people may see it. That's probably right now about the most people that have seen a post. And then I'll post something and maybe 25 to 100 people will see that content. So that is a form, that is shadow banning. That's when your page is not blocked, right? Your page is not shut down, but they are keeping people who follow your page, not even looking for new followers, but they're keeping people who follow your page from actually seeing your content. So when content creators ask you that, hey, if you see our content, like, share, subscribe, add us to your favorites, it's for a reason. Because without doing those things, you're not going to see our content on a regular basis. I know there are people that I have followed and even put into my favorites, and I'm still not seeing their content unless I search and go directly to their page to look at their content. So, of course, this is frustrating to a lot of people. The second thing that's happening is these quote unquote, you have violated community guidelines or you have violated community standards. With the majority of these platforms, they will say you have done some sort of violation, but many times you're not allowed to appeal their decision or there is no place to appeal the decision. Many times there is no explanation as to what exactly you violated. So if you get enough of those violations, it causes your entire page to be taken down. So all of that content that people have been building for years, their content, their followers, etc., get stripped and taken down. Now, a lot of content creators, especially if they have a lot of followers, they do rely on their pages for income. It is a measure of income for some people. It is not for me because I am not at that level as a content creator. But for a lot of people that are, they receive revenue from their views, they receive revenue from their shows that they put onto these platforms. And so imagine receiving that revenue, relying upon that revenue, and then all of a sudden, your page gets shut down without any real explanation. That can be devastating to someone who has come to rely and depend upon that income. But this is happening in real time. Here's the other issue that is frustrating to content creators. You can post content, and someone who is not a Black content creator can hijack your content. They can download your voice and your sound bites, and they can dub themselves over your voice and get followers and views and revenue, while the person who originally posted the content is being shadow banned and blocked and told that they violate community standards. This is stuff that is happening in real time. So, my encouragement to those of you who follow us, please support what it is that we're doing. Some of us have link trees. Some of us have subscriptions. I know I have a subscription with Patreon, patreon.com/Daring Dialogues. Um, some of us have our own websites, robertandshante.com, robertandshanteglobal.com, where we, sell our own products, goods, and services because, again, we can't rely on these platforms. We can't. So, I don't know what other ways to explain to you all the ways in which the content creators that you follow are slowly and silently being muzzled. They're being restricted. They're being suppressed. So if you don't see people that you normally follow in your feed, these are some of the reasons why. Okay? All right. I just know that I know it can be a little unmotivating to continue to create content that nobody sees, not because you've done anything wrong, but literally because the algorithms are working against your Blackness. They're working against people of color, literally. So when I say things like the new Jim Code, this is a part of the new Jim Code because I don't necessarily have to openly discriminate against a content creator, right? If I create an algorithm that just pushes Black content creators down and no one sees their content, that is a form of discrimination, especially if they're not doing anything to violate community guidelines and standards, or they're being dinged for violating community guidelines and standards. And then when you go look at the content, there's nothing that is violating. Okay. So I encourage you, go today, check out your content creators pages, the ones that you know that you've liked and you followed, um, and click on something on their page so that you can bring their content back into the algorithm. That's one way that you can help them out. Share something that they have put out, in the last, I would say, 30 days, so that you can get their content back into the algorithm. I know one thing that I'm doing is any Black content creators that I follow, I'm watching, parts of their video. I'm clicking like, I'm sharing onto my larger platforms so that I can help to get them back into the algorithm, and also so I can help to expose their content to other people. This is the way that we're going to help each other to stay in the forefront as we see what is happening with media in general. A lot of media is right now, even mainstream, right, pushing content creators who are Black out of the way. They're firing most of the Black people who were speaking on Black people's behalf. That is not a coincidence. So, again, if you want to help out independent content creators, if you want to help out those of us who are doing independent media, independent news, who are trying to uplift the community, who are trying to highlight stories that encourage the Black community, you're going to have to help us with like, share, and subscribe. Because if not, what you're going to see growing in the algorithm and what you're going to see being pushed to the forefront is ratchetness, stuff that doesn't benefit our community, stuff that actually tears our community down. That is what the algorithms are set to. So the only way that we can really fight against that is we have to manually put things back into the algorithm that speaks to who we actually are versus what the algorithm wants to push about Black, Indigenous persons of color. All right. So that is what I wanted to share this morning. That is what I wanted to share today. I hope you will take me up on this challenge to get content out that matters to us, to help out Black content creators that you see are pushing positive, uplifting, encouraging messages, knowledge, history, things that need to be pushed back up in the algorithm. That's how you're going to help us to do it, by going to our content, liking the content, subscribing to the content, sharing the content. Because if not, you're going to be like, where did all the positive content go? It went down in the algorithm because they're actually literally pushing it down in the algorithm. So that is what I wanted to share. My YouTube audience, I will see you back on Tuesday. And my IG Live, if you would like to come on today and share and respond to the call, let me know and I'll bring you on. Or if you'd like to share today about the two Native activists that we talked about this morning, I will bring you on. Thank you again, YouTube audience. I will see you tomorrow.